So welcome to another PESTED training video. Today, my name's Kevin Hurley. My name's Kevin Hurley today and every other day. But we're going to talk about Speed Zone. This is a very commonly used product across the United States for broad spectrum weed control because it will control broadleaf weeds as well as many other weeds. It has 4 active ingredients in it. We're not going to read this whole label, but I'm going to hit a couple highlights for you. The products that are in here are 2,4-D, and you know that's great for plantains and broadleaf weeds like dandelions. Carfentrazone, which is a relatively new product. I think it first got EPA registration around 2002, which is new relative. And then Mecoprop and Dicamba. So some of these things work in different ways. If you want to check out one of our online training courses for just Speed Zone, we go really into that detail and explains to you how those herbicides work, and some of them accelerate the cell growth of the plant, causing the plant to collapse upon itself, and that's a pretty common thing that affects the enzymes within the plant. But one of the things that, as I was preparing for this presentation, I started looking at labels, and I was reading the Speed Zone label over and over, and I noticed an inconsistency. And one of the labels said, didn't mention apron. So I didn't think, well, I don't need an apron then. And then I started reading another label, and for the same exact product with the same EPA number, and it said all handlers and mixers and applicators must use an apron when handling the concentrate. And then I thought, well, maybe that's just for the worker protection standard part. But as I went through the worker protection standard part, it was in there. Then I went to the non-WPS section, and it was still in there on the label. But then I went to the other label, and it wasn't in there. So I was getting really confused. So I went to my state's website. New York State has a website of all approved labels, and your state probably does too. There's federal labels and there's state labels. And most states will just accept the federal label. But New York is one of those states that doesn't always accept the federal label. They'll change it or have a restriction based on what they feel is important to protect the environment and the people and property of the state. So I pulled up the newest label approved in New York, and lo and behold, I found that the label was just approved in June of this year. So there is a label change on Speed Zone. Even the southern version, and this version just called broadleaf herbicide for turf. Then there's another one called southern herbicide, Speed Zone southern version, and that also requires an apron on the label. Now, maybe your state has its own label and didn't require it, but my guess is this is from June of this year. Probably it's on all the federal labels too. They want you to wear a chemical resistant apron. So we're going to do that today. So let's look at what the label says for PPE required. I'll find it here. Non-WPS, non-worker protection standards. You must, when mixing, loading, or applying this product, wear long sleeve shirt, long pants, socks, shoes, and chemical resistant gloves. Well, I have long sleeve shirt, long pants, I'm wearing socks and shoes, and I have chemical resistant gloves. It doesn't mention apron. This is an old label. So in our state, the way this works is if you have the old label and the old label on the product in your warehouse, you can continue to use the old label following the old label instructions until it's used up. But once you buy this product again and it has the new label on it, now you're going to have to wear this apron. So that's just a little update for you on Speed Zone. And I know, my recommendations to my clients are minimum once a year, go to your state's website, look at all the labels that are registered that you use, compare them, make sure the registration number didn't change. A lot of our states now have pesticide reporting laws where we have to send in what pesticide we used, where we used it, how much, by EPA number. And if you put down the old EPA number, you're reporting to the state that you're using a non-registered pesticide. And you're probably going to get a visit. So make sure you got the newest pesticides on your the newest pesticide label on your website and in your trucks for your applicators. So let's see, this is the chemical resistant apron. The company that makes this one is called Sir Blue. I don't know them. Never heard of them until I went to Amazon and found them. But it is a chemical resistant apron, so they advertise. And it smells like a chemical. Actually, smells like a float for a swimming pool. Let's see what it says. Are there instructions for this? It says this bag is made of plastic. Oh, this bag. Doesn't not talk. But well, let's see what they want us to talk about the bag. Use it for as long as you like. Okay. I'm done. We'll go on. However, when it is no longer of use, do not leave it in the countryside or the sea. I think that's pretty cool that they tell us that. The world belongs to us all and we must protect it. I agree with that. I can't leave it in the countryside or by the sea. So what I'll probably do is drive down to a small town and just chuck it on the street, or maybe go to an ocean or a small river. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, it's funny how they're being specific and they're not really helping us. Obviously, we want to recycle. It would have been just as simple to say, please recycle this. So for now, we're going to set it here, and then we're going to take it to the countryside later. Okay? I'll just set it here. Now let's get my apron on. Boy, this looks, you know, it's 88 degrees right now. I got long sleeve pants on. I got an apron on. I'm fat. So it's very sweaty out today. There. Oh, look at this. There's more to this than I thought. So you see, you got to be prepared for things in life. I guess we should tie this in a little knot. They didn't want to tie it in a knot for me. But if you don't tie it in a knot, or tie a knot on the inside of it, it's just going to come off. So let's take a break while the cameraman ties this around me. Welcome back to this week's medical examiner class. So today we're going to show you how to remove the liver. No, sorry, wrong class. Speed zone. That's where we are. So I got all this equipment on. It doesn't say I need safety glasses or glasses of any kind on the label. However, I do wear them. I kind of like to wear them. Plus, it's bright and sunny out. The part about this that's a little disturbing is we're only going to use 1 ounce of this. So the regulation about aprons and long sleeve and all this was kind of, they were designed originally for big agricultural applicators and maybe people doing 18-hole golf courses or football fields, other sport fields. But the label doesn't discern between somebody like me who's just going to do a spot treatment using 1 ounce and someone who's going to put a gallon of this in 130 gallons of water or whatever the ratio is supposed to be. So we're going to follow the label so we don't get in trouble. This particular label for Speed Zone, says you use 0.75 to 1.5 ounces per gallon of water, and we're just doing a spot treatment, so that's what we're going to do. What we have here, I don't like to spray it in the screen because the screen has such tiny holes. Certain pesticides that are thick, like a claim, or if they have spreaders or stickers in them, they'll actually stick to this. So I take this out only for that purpose. We already put almost a full gallon of water. We're just shy of a full gallon. I don't know if you can see it wiggling in there. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. So these pesticides, there's 4 different pesticides in them, in here, and they have petroleum in them. So they're going to break out. You know, they're going to stratify. So what we want to do here is mix it up just a little, shake it just a little bit before you use it, so you don't get all of the, you know, let's say dicamba on the bottom, mecoprop in the middle, and 2,4-D on the top, or however that would settle out. You want it to be mixed evenly so you're getting an even application and your money's worth. So we've got 1 tablespoon here. 1 tablespoon equals 1 ounce. Our ratio is 0.75 to 1.5. So we're going to put in 1 ounce per this gallon. And you can see I'm very protected here probably more than I need to be, but we're going to follow the label. So we're going to drop that in there, okay? And I always like to get the top on right away because I'm the kind of person that is clumsy and tends to knock things over. So I try to get that top on as fast as possible. And we're going to set this down, shake off whatever's left in here. Now, this is a hose that's used for gardens and stuff, so you don't want to drop this hose down here, and especially if, God forbid, if you're at a customer's house, you drop it down in your tank, and then their little kid comes up and drinks from it later. So just definitely don't allow that to happen. But you never put the pesticide in first, because it may stick to the plastic, it'll adhere to it. Put in water first. We're almost at a gallon. So it's about 3/4 of a gallon, so I'll fill it up to a full gallon. And then put in your pesticide. We're going to put our strainer back in. Put the lid back on. And then we're going to go do some spot treatments on a bunch of different weeds. Okay? So we're back. I double checked the label. The label said that I only have to wear the apron when mixing the product, not when using it. So I took that hot apron off. And it doesn't require a hat, but I'm going to put one on anyway. Those of you who do use hats during the day while you're applying, you should wash them at night when you're done, especially if you're touching the rim and you have chemicals on your hands. That's going to absorb into your temples and go right into your brain, and that's not good. So these hats are something that'll really absorb pesticides. You want to be careful with them. So, but the label says I am still required to have long shirt, long pants, shoes plus socks, and rubber gloves. So I have to wear the rubber gloves when I'm applying. There must be a really strong dermal absorption of this product. It's probably why they do that. So let's go over here. Now this area, one of the things you want to keep in mind is, so I just mixed up Speed Zone in this backpack sprayer, but Speed Zone isn't here right now. The last thing I used is here. Now the last thing I used should have been water, because when I was done using the equipment, I should have rinsed it out, right? So this should just be water, so the initial stuff coming out of here is not going to be very highly concentrated product. So you want to give it a couple pumps and know in your mind that the first things you're treating are either going to be the water, or the diluent you used, or the last chemical that you had in the machine. So we're going to hit here. Now we have some crabgrass here that was hit with a claim, but it's been over 24 hours. It's okay to use a claim and Speed Zone together, but not at the same time. So you can do serial applications, one after the other, but you have to wait at least 24 hours. Let the acclaim dry first. If you mix the two, it's going to cause problems. It's going to make one of the two less effective. So you'll be wasting your money. So I'm going to hit some of these broadleaf weeds. And we'll come back in a day or two. That's all, spot treatment. We've got a whole bunch of clover in here, milkweed. Now we got the wind going that way, so I'm doing a rather coarse spray. You know what? I might even make it a little coarser because I don't like the drift. There's going to be some flowers coming up, and this stuff will wipe them right out. The best thing to do is to come into the space you want to treat and back out. And I'll tell you, my experience with this particular product is you do not have to soak the product. It doesn't take much. Once it gets on the leaves, it's going to translocate throughout the plant because it's got 4 different active ingredients. So it's going to do a good job all on its own. So let's move on. It probably won't kill the crabgrass that's over here. So there's a couple of pieces of crabgrass. It's not really that kind of product, so we're going to come back when we check. We'll see what happens with the crabgrass. And let's move on down here. Now in this area we have, more weeds than I know. Plantains, chickweed, henbit, clover, dandelions, daisies, which I guess if we don't want them growing there, they're a weed. They're in the turf area. So this area has very little grass left. The weeds have taken over, so we're going to try to reclaim it. So I'm going to come in. You can see this clover's really blossomed out. Now look what we've got here. A bumblebee. So we want to be very careful about that. We don't want to harm any pollinators. Now this is a herbicide, not an insecticide. So this as a herbicide will have far less effect on that bumblebee because he's an insect. But I'm still not allowed to spray him, and I don't want to spray him. If I was using, say, cyfluthrin or some other esfenvalerate, some other pesticide designed for insects around this structure, I would wipe that bumblebee right out. He'd be done. He could not handle it. If he gets a little of this on him, it probably won't hurt him, but I'm going to stay away. I'm not going to treat that clover. My initial thought was I'm going to treat that clover, but now that I know that bumblebees are in that area, I'm just going to let him enjoy his life, and I'm going to stay away from that, and I'm going to treat over here using a coarse spray so it doesn't get on that guy. Remember now, this is going to kill everything but grass, and probably crabgrass it won't kill, but it won't. When I say grass, I'm talking about the Kentucky blues, the rye, the stuff we plant for our turf. This is not going to harm it. At least we hope, right? If I mix it right by the label, it's not going to harm them. Now, if I overmix it, if I double the strength, which would be illegal, I may start killing my grass, you know, and follow the label instructions. These manufacturers really took a lot of time, spent millions of dollars figuring this out. Let's go over to this other section over here. We have purposely allowed all the weeds to grow here this spring, and now it's June. We're just letting them grow up. There's not been any application for broad spectrum herbicides in this area. We just want to see what grows up. We got some different vines and hay and grass species I'm not familiar with, clover. So we're going to treat this with Speed Zone, and we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to check which way the wind's going. Hardly any wind, but it's blowing a little to the right. So I'm going to hit this. Now these tall things are probably either the bluegrass or the ryegrass that was planted there last year, and they've been allowed to grow to full maturity and they've gone to seed. I don't think this is going to kill them, but we don't really care too much. We can pull those. So I'm using kind of a coarse spray here. I want to be careful. I got a rose bush and lilies, so I don't want to get near the rose bush or the lilies. A nice side-to-side motion, cover the area. So because this product translocates, you don't actually have to hit the entire plant, though it's a good idea to hit as much of the plant as you can. Now let's go back over to this section. This section we previously treated this crabgrass with acclaim, and these weeds got some acclaim on them too. So we're gonna not spray the crabgrass, but we're gonna hit the weeds. We want them to go bye-bye. And you'll notice I'm being very careful not to let anything drift in that direction. This stuff will wipe out those plants. It'll wipe out a garden. So now we've done our Speed Zone application, spot treatment, and we're just going to start waiting. We're going to come back here every day for the next few days, take a look, and we'll see how fast this stuff takes effect. Now the temperature, we looked ahead in the weather. All good applicators should look and see what the weather report says for the next few days. We are not going to get rain here till after Monday. It's Friday now, actually after Tuesday. And it's going to be 99 degrees on Sunday and 98 degrees on Monday. Sunny, no clouds. That means this stuff, this Speed Zone herbicide, is going to really have an opportunity to just bloom. It's going to, the plants going to have rapid metabolism. It's going to uptake this product fast. It's going to dry quick, fix to the leaves, and it's going to kill them really quick. So we'll see what happens. So here's a follow-up to a Speed Zone application. You'll notice these leaves are already falling over, these weeds. They're collapsing among them within themselves. So this is 2 hours. Now the reason you're seeing this kind of effect is because it's about 89 degrees out today. It's very hot. So the 4 active ingredients in Speed Zone were able to take effect extremely quickly. So that's the kind of results you're going to get with that product within a couple hours. So here we have our Speed Zone application day 4, and you can see it's really done its job. These plants have just caved in on themselves. They can no longer support themselves. Part of some of the active ingredients in Speed Zone increase the cell production, and in this hot sun they try to grow rapidly, and then they can't handle it, they fall over. So it's worked good. It hasn't harmed any of the grasses. These are very young, small little grasses here. Some of these products will brown young Kentucky bluegrass, but it won't kill it, and then the brown will go away and it'll come back green. Now if we step over here, this same spot, this spot was treated with Speed Zone 2, and I'll give you an idea of the difference that sunlight has. This is a very shaded area, and you'll see there are some spots forming on these clovers if you take a look down here, but they're mostly in the shade, so it's going to take longer. Now go over to your right directly here. This area is in the sun almost all day long, so this area died quickly. They were treated the same exact time, but the sunlight had a major impact on the availability of the Speed Zone to be taken up by the plant. So this area was treated 5 days ago. We let all these weeds grow up. There's chicory, plantain, clover, some ivy looking things. We got all kinds of different weeds here, and you can see it's in the direct sunlight more than half the day. 5 days later it's dying off. So the Speed Zone has done its job here, but we're showing you this because we want to give you an idea of how long it's going to take before you expect results. You don't want people thinking that you put a herbicide out and you come back the next day, everything's dead. It doesn't work that way. It takes a little bit of time. So this product is doing a good job. These plants won't be coming back anytime soon. Hi, I'm Kevin Hurley, the owner of PESTED. Thank you for watching our videos, and we hope that you subscribe, because we're going to have a lot more videos coming up, and we'd appreciate your input if there's anything you'd like to see.